Welcome to another show, Chad Loves Michelle, Season 1, Episode 8. This is it. The relationship's over, but we're going to get right into it. Stay tuned right here, AfterBuzz TV.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Talk to, girl.
A banger.
I know. Was this one of your like go-to breakup songs, like when you broke up with someone?
I was like 14 listening to the song thinking I really knew something about love.
You were listening to R. Kelly too at 14, right? You know what?
Don't throw me under that bus.
This episode, To Be or Not To Be, I'm your host, Miss Conversation P, with my girl.
What up, y'all? It's your girl, Drew Jones.
So we're going to get right into this overall episode. It's the end of Chad and Michelle. It's over.
I mean, did we not see some red flags throughout this entire season, though?
I did. Yeah, for sure.
I'm saying, like, I'm sad for them just because, like, I know what it feels like to break up with somebody that you really love, and I'm sad for that. But, I mean, this wasn't the healthiest relationship, if we're being honest with one another.
Yeah, it was to be or not to be, and it determined after 7 episodes that they're not to be. Michelle ended up sending in George to do her dirty work to let it be known that it's over. And let's just get into like the overall recap of it. They were trying in the beginning. They were still like in good spirits. They felt like it was still gonna happen. They even set a date finally, and this was her like breaking point. Like, I know what I want, I know what I need, and it's a wedding date. So he got it set for her. So in the beginning, she met up with her girlfriend, Kelly, and she's still kind of optimistic about it. And they're planning on what she's going to do, her first night. What do you have to say about that, Drew?
First of all, I love seeing Kelly and her get to hang out. I don't know. It excited the little teenage girl in me to see that Destiny Child are still kicking it, still homies. I mean, obviously, because we see Kelly and Bay together all the time, but it's nice to see Kelly with Michelle and then them talking about their group chat, talking about all having babies together. That was really cute. But I don't know.
Do you think Michelle feels left out?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
No.
because Kelly's married with a baby. Beyonce's married with 3 babies. Michelle, no babies, no man. Right now, I think.
Oh, you mean like in that sense?
Yeah.
Maybe, but I don't know. I feel like Michelle she knows she's on her own path. I don't think she's like comparing herself to them.
I think so. I think that may be a part of her depression. I think that may be it, too.
That could be. I mean, I think there's a lot of pressure on women to have, certain things by a certain age. So I could definitely understand, like, I mean, I know I've been through it. I'm sure you've been through it where you're like, I'm turning this old and I can't believe I don't have X, Y, and Z yet.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine. Like,
and I think that's why she's pressing Chad. Like, I need the date. We need this happening. What are we doing? I can't wait 2-3 years, because in 2-3 years she'll be 41, or, you know, like, I think that's a lot of it.
I also feel like the thing with Chad, though, was I feel like he gaslights her a lot. I feel like it was very much like as long as you behave, you can have these type of things. And he kind of dangled marriage and whatnot over her head. And I didn't like that. And so I feel like that played into a lot of it.
Woo, Lord. Well, they ended up doing their last session with Dr. Thema. Thema told them she didn't recommend for them to get married within 90 days. They needed more time. And I feel like they do need more time. And I feel like just because you meet someone where you're later on in life and it's like, okay, time is speeding on with my eggs and all this stuff. But at the same time, you can't just jump into something just because it's like, okay, I'm 40 now. Let's just do this.
Right.
Like, I don't know what to
I didn't even
make of it.
I didn't even think, like, they were really upset by her saying not to get married in the next 90 days. I didn't really take that as an insult. I thought that was a very logical thing to say, just because, like, you know, they're coming off this big high of completing this therapy session.
It's been 2 months in therapy, and so she's been waiting 2 months now.
Yeah, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not that long. Like 3 months isn't that long.
I think Michelle's on the fast pace because if you add the 2 months of therapy plus the 3 months of waiting, that's 5 months. That's half a year.
Right.
So it's like that'll be another year you gotta wait. So I think that's kind of where Michelle is like pushing.
Yeah, but I think from a logical point of view, it's like you don't want to. She's saying like don't do it in the next 3 months because you're riding this high right now off of this therapy and you might feel differently, or like things aren't going to be so peachy keen and they're going to be a little bit more realistic in the next 3 months. And I think that's a smart way to, But
now she has to start all the way over because now they're not together anymore if she does decide to go with the next person. So in the event that she does, what does she do now? Her fear is my eggs, my time, I need to do this so I can be with my girls. They got babies. They got a husband. What does she do in her next relationship?
Well, one, I don't think that, I don't think you need to I don't think you need to bear a child in order to be a good mom or in order to have a family. I think we live in a time where there's so many ways to have a family, and I think especially with the growing number of children that are in the foster care system and whatnot, there's so many beautiful ways to put together a family, and I think there are options, obviously, and I understand, childbirth is a beautiful thing, but I don't think it's the only thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think Gabrielle Union.
Yeah, Gabrielle Union had a surrogate, and that was dope. There have been people who have adopted and whatnot. That's dope. Most of my siblings are adopted. So there's a lot of different options. So I don't want that to be like the reason that you put yourself in something. I think if anything, she should count her blessings that they kept pushing back because now you see that this person isn't for you. And imagine getting married and then realizing
and then you got to get a divorce. So that was my next point to get into the counseling before marriage. I really do feel like that is a accurate step to take in any relationship that you want to go to that extent of a lifelong partner, because nobody wants to get a divorce. Nobody wants to go through this mudslinging and the craziness. So it's like if you can handle it beforehand, that's even better. If you can kind of see what you're getting into, that's even better. And if you can just be like, okay, this isn't right, that's the best scenario you can deal with, because you're making a big mistake if you commit to this person. So definitely counseling before marriage is one thing that I took away from this show that I think is very important. I don't necessarily think about getting into counseling with a boyfriend or, somebody before fiance. I don't think you necessarily need that. Yeah. Okay.
But do whatever you feel. I think that I think people put a negative connotation on counseling and therapy, and I think I go to therapy weekly. And it's not because there's anything quote unquote wrong with me, but it's just because why wouldn't you want to have tools to help you better walk through life, Mm-hmm. So if you feel like therapy,
what was the determining factor for you to take it on for yourself? Do you feel like that's going to help you have better relationships or just the outlook on life? Or
I think I just wanted a really good understanding of nobody wants to get stuck in a rut. No one wants to you want to be the best version of yourself you can be. If you want to be the best basketball player, how do you become that? You practice and you put yourself around people who know how to be good basketball players, and you get a coach and, they train you. So if you want to be the best version of yourself, you go to somebody who's going to help you and teach you how to be the best version of yourself. So that's why I personally wanted to get into therapy, because I wanted to know my triggers. I wanted to know, coping mechanisms to help me get through certain things.
Okay, I like that. And one thing that I also noticed throughout this whole series is they asked for a lot of advice. They had a lot of friends, and they seemed to be trustworthy, some people that were very knowledgeable and wise in their decisions. So I'm not opposed to them, but one thing I don't think a lot of people need to be in your business. Not saying a therapist,
right?
Because the therapy I feel like was very helpful, but in the event that you want to have a relationship, because, okay, let me go back to the point of the advice. A lot of the people they were talking to were like, when are you going to set the date? When are you going to get married? They were pushing them for marriage. However, the therapist is telling them to wait. So putting people into your relationship is not healthy, I feel like.
I agree. Because I think their friends only got to see the parts of them that Chad and Michelle wanted to show them. And so therefore they're like, yeah, do this. Yeah, push your marriage. Yeah, get the date. Because they didn't get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. They only got to see the good. And then obviously with Dr. Tamo, we saw
the real.
Yeah. And so she was the one who was like, wait on it. And sure enough, who was the correct one there?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So one thing that I did notice in the show when Chad was speaking to his people, they did pick an assistant, and the guy that they picked, and I was just looking at little things. So who do you think should get the assistant? Because remember when they were talking about it, like, if we don't work out, who gets an assistant?
Yeah.
Who do you think? Because he seems like he's closer to Chad.
Yeah, I mean, I think he should go with Chad. If that's just because, not that George is necessarily her assistant, but George is kind of her assistant, So I think she has George. He can have the new assistant.
Guy.
Yeah.
Also, pressures were from the family. The moms want grandkids. I don't know. It's just a lot of pressure situation. I think it was great for them to make the mature decision, because when you put yourself out there, you get engaged, you actually get on your knee, you do all these things, you ask for permission, you get the ring, you say yes, and then it doesn't work out. It's kind of embarrassing that you have to like turn away and say, okay, we're not doing this anymore. So it's a big step for people to be like, okay, this isn't right. And I feel like a lot of people will go through with it because they don't want to let their family down or their friends down, or they don't want to be embarrassed. So I think this is this is good to capture on camera to make these lifelong decisions, because this isn't something that you can just deal with. This is somebody you got to be with for the rest of your life and have kids with. So I don't know. I mean, and people settle all the time. It's a lot of people out there that settle.
Yeah.
What do you feel about settling?
I've always said I'm not big into the marriage thing, but if I were to get married, let it be known it's because I legitimately think I'm going to be with this person for forever. So I'm not one to settle at all. I don't think you should settle. I feel like, want more for yourself. And want more. I think when you quote unquote settle, you're also doing a disservice to the other person. Yeah. Because they're not able to find like their better half. They're equally yoked. You're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting the other person. So do better.
Well, Chad tried. He did a great little scavenger hunt thing. It was super cute throughout the episode.
Sweet. Yeah.
He does little sweet things. I think Michelle does little sweet things. They try. It just, sometimes you're just not compatible. And it doesn't matter how good of a person. I don't think Chad is a bad person. I don't think Michelle's a bad person.
Right.
They're just not right for each other.
And I really liked how they kind of handled the whole situation, because I really do think that you can love somebody, and I think they can love you. And sometimes just love isn't enough. I think it's naive to go into a relationship and think that just loving someone is enough to keep it together, enough to keep you both growing and flourishing. I think there are so many other outside factors that go into it. And so I really admired how they chose to handle the situation, and I thought it was really mature, and you can tell that there was a lot of love there.
It was very mature, but I always used to just in the back of my mind peep little things that Chad would say, and one thing that he said was he was trying to be sweet in this moment and talk about the pearl and how it produces, the oyster produces a pearl, and he's like, the pearl is basically something uncomfortable in the oyster, and they build a tolerance, and that's how the pearl comes around. And it's something that's irritating, and I'm just like, and he's like, and I think that's what we are, and I'm just like, the things that you're saying is like, you're calling me irritating, but you love me anyway. I don't know, he just says some weird stuff sometimes.
Sometimes, and again, we don't know necessarily how the relationship was, because we only got to see, you know,
8 episodes.
8 episodes of what was edited. But sometimes it feels very much like Chad sees himself as a blessing to Michelle and not a blessing to one another. You know, it doesn't, for someone who's such a man of God's word and whatnot, and, you know, in the Bible it says you should be equally yoked with your significant other, it kind of feels like he really sees himself on a higher level.
You think so? I think he put Michelle on the pedestal, but when she started the depression, because she has some words that she can cut into him as well. Just that dark, the other side that we don't see of a person when we're infatuated with them. He didn't see that at first, and then when he got to see it, it was like, oh.
But I think he used her illness against her a couple times. There were a couple times he said stuff that I was like, that wasn't helpful, dude. Like, that wasn't cool. And I think he gaslights her quite a bit. And I think even, like, with dangling the engagement and dangling the date and everything around her, I don't know. Sometimes I thought he saw himself as, like being a helping hand rather than, like, this is just a moment in time where my potential wife needs me and I need to be strong, and then other times she'll be strong for me. Like, I think he didn't want her to be strong for him. He only wanted to be strong for her, and then wanted to kind of use that against her. But again, that's just what it comes off to me on the show. That's not to say that that was a real thing in their real life relationship.
So why do we think he came up with the wedding date? Because it was like, at the end, I feel like he still wanted to marry her. Like, he still wanted to go through with it. Michelle is the one who shut it down. She's the one who called off the engagement several times. Like, he would have went through with it if it wasn't for Michelle putting her foot down. How do you feel about men having that controlling mind of, you need to eat, you need to drink your water, you need to be healthy, like, versus, like, being that person who's maybe inspiring you to be the best version of you, versus like telling you need to do this, you need to do that, or I'm not going to marry you, or I'm not going to give you a wedding date.
Maybe it's the Aquarius in me, but when I don't like being told what to do, especially when I'm in a relationship with somebody. It's very much like we're a 50-50 partnership. So, like, I like inspire me, make me want to be better. Like, not saying that you need to be my inspiration, because I also don't think that I think, like, I need to be able to stand on my own 2 feet. But I think intention, and I think, I definitely think, like, people's intent, it speaks loudly. And sometimes it just felt like he was very, like, bossy with it. And it was very, like, woe is me, I can't believe I have to take care of you type of tone. And I feel like,
I don't know. I feel like a woman should be submissive. I'm okay with being a submissive woman, and not necessarily your control of me, but I'm willing to take your lead. But I don't think Chad is a person who I can take his lead.
I don't think he has an understanding of what the submission that, like, the Bible talks about. I don't think he has a full understanding of what that is and what you have to be as a man for that to happen. Because I think, and it's not just him. I mean, there are a lot of guys that I've known, you know, growing up in the church and stuff, who have kind of had the same thing, where it's just like, oh, you just have to listen to what I say and what I do, and you know, no questions asked, just go for it. And it's like, no, that's not what it is. It's, we're walking hand in hand together in this, and you're supposed to be navigating us, but I'm still allowed to question the direction we're going, and I'm still allowed to, you know, want to know when we're getting there, or, you know, I'm still allowed to see the map.
Yeah. And I think Michelle, even though she's a very small, petite woman, she's very vocal. She's very strong-minded, and which is why I feel like she was able to, like, call this off, because a lot of women would just be like, well, this is my fairy tale. He asked me. He did all this stuff. And I'm just, I respect her for, even at her age and all the things that she's, like, pushing for, like, I need to get married, I need to have this baby, I need to do that. She still shut it down when it wasn't right, and I respect her for that, because a lot of women would be like, well, I'm 38 now, so let's go and do this, you know. So I respect her for that, and for, you know, looking out for her happiness before anything else, because, I mean, she's established in her career, and she knows that she has some issues, and she's even mature in the fact that she's going to seek help for her depression, because there's a lot of people who won't seek help for that as well.
Facts.
You know, there's people who will just wallow in it, who go suicidal, you know, all of that. So I think, you know, it just wasn't the right fit. I don't know how it got this far. Besides the fact that they were both religious and on this walk of life, and, you know, cool people, but I don't know how it got this far, because they haven't had sex, so it wasn't that attraction. I'm like, what was it?
I think there's legitimate love there. I think you can love somebody but not be in love with somebody, and I think they
should just be friends.
Yeah, I think they legitimately loved each other. I just don't think they were in love with one another. And it'd be like that sometimes.
It'd be like that. Sometimes you gotta go through the motions. So what I want to know is, if you guys are out there in the group chat, what does a mature woman and a mature man do in a situation where it's like, I think I found the one, I think I'm about to make this step. If I don't make this step, it's kind of like, dang, I gotta go through another year of dating. I gotta, you know, it's like, I'm 40, you know, like, is the age thing a big deal? What do you guys think? Leave a comment right here. And we want to also know if you guys watch other shows on AfterBuzz, because we have so many episodes. We talk about sci-fi, we talk about drama, we talk about movies, all kind of stuff. And you guys can subscribe right here to the reality show channel, as well as our other channels. And you can like, subscribe, and leave a comment and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes if you like what we're doing here. And keep in touch with us on the next panels that we're going to be doing, because we're wrapping up right here. So we are the ESPN of TV talk here on AfterBuzz TV. So we just want you to help us grow and to help us expand. So make sure you do that for us. Yeah.
Yeah, we really appreciate your all support. We love hearing your all's feedback on the different shows, whether you agree with us or you don't agree with us. We just like talking to you all. We like knowing what you all think. Sometimes you guys change our point of view.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so much to deal with in relationships. Your mom wants grandkids. Ugh. You just want to not be lonely. And you don't want to, you know, have all these sex partners and stuff, you know, going around. And I just feel like he was in her life for a season. He taught her a lesson, as far as like, not a lesson, but just taught her about taking care of herself.
Yeah.
And she taught him about
I think she taught him about taking care of himself. I think there's a lot of stuff he had to address within himself that he didn't until it was called out of him. And I think I think people assume with relationships that like everything has to end on bad terms, and I don't agree with that. I think every relationship is meant to be in some way, shape, or form. Just because it doesn't last forever doesn't mean that it wasn't valuable or wasn't a teaching moment. I think they loved each other. I think they still love each other, and they learned a lot from it.
So how do you feel about the whole George coming in to speak for Michelle? Because I feel like, as a woman, as you signing up for this show, if I'm a producer, I want you to go all the way with it. I don't need you to have a spokesperson. Like, that's your best friend, cool, but
I think with Michelle's mental health history, with what we know it to be, I think you have to protect yourself first before anything else. And if this was something that could trigger you, or this is something that could push you to a dark place, then I respect you choosing to opt out of it and to have someone else speak on your behalf. I'm not mad at her for doing that. I don't know where her headspace was. I don't think she owes us as an audience an explanation about her relationship, you know? So,
but when you decide to put it out there, it's like,
I don't think
I see a lot of, like, even like a Cardi B, and she's like putting all her stuff out there, and like, I do this for my man and this and that, he ain't gonna never leave me or whatever. And then you get caught in a cheating scandal. It's like, okay, now you gotta explain, like, you going back to him? Like, what are you doing? Like, are you leaving him? Like, we want to know because you put it out there. Like,
yeah, and I understand that, but I also think, like, I don't think she went into they wouldn't have called it Chad Loves Michelle had they thought that this was going to be the ending of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think they did this show thinking that it wasn't going to work out. And just going back on the mental health thing, I know how slippery that slope can be. And so if she just felt like this isn't going to be good for my spirit, then...
And it's interesting that you bring up the title, Chad Loves Michelle. I feel like that's what it was. Like, Chad loved Michelle more than she loved him. And
I don't think so.
I do. I feel like she loved him. I mean, he loved her more. The whole, like, even she said it, the whole fairy tale. He was just infatuated with, I have this celebrity woman. I truly feel like he felt like that. Like, this is somebody that I can be huge with, and this is someone who can help me build my empire, and nothing is wrong with that if that's what you found and that's what you want. But at the same time, women who are on that level have to be careful, because those men can take advantage. Because after all of that therapy, after all of that, he still set the date. He still was, still trying to go through with it. He actually was still ready to get married. She's the one who broke it off. So I feel like he would have went through with it. And I feel like he would have went through with it because he wanted that position. And I don't know.
But that's not love, though. If that's the case, that's not love. That's...
Exactly. I saw it because even when she was singing at the church and he went up to preach, it was very, Michelle, she kills the crowd, and she can warm up the crowd for me when I get ready to preach. I feel like it was that's the sentiment he had, and I kind of think that Michelle saw that, what we're seeing. Once you can see it, you can roll tape back. You can see it with your own eyes. You can have your best friend see it. And you just, you're going to get on out of there. I think that's what happened.
I don't know, man.
Well, George calls Chad on FaceTime. He, tells us that it's really over. It's really true. It's not a rumor. And Chad is very respectful. He's telling his side of the story. And we can kind of see that Michelle controls this show, because I feel like if it was a little bit of equally yoke situation, he would have been in front of the camera, not George calling him on FaceTime. You know what I mean? Because they could have easily sat down with Chad in a green screen, but they didn't. And I feel like Michelle shut that down. What do you think?
I don't think Michelle shut it down. I just think...
But why wouldn't they? Like, that would have been the gold where you could get that information. Whatever the show's purpose is to get ratings. So if whatever the reason for the breakup is, if you can talk to the person, why wouldn't you talk to that person versus having a third party?
Yeah, I don't know what the situation was there, but
I think Michelle had the control.
Maybe, but I mean, she is the selling point of that show. So
well, I don't care about them anymore because they broke up. I need a man myself. Let's get on our own dating advice.
Oh Lord.
Yes, because I want to just ask you.
Okay.
Because we're single. Are you single?
I'm single.
I'm single. We're looking for our own, equally yoked husband.
Yep.
Or you don't want a husband, right?
I'm open to anything. I just don't. That's not a goal in my life.
It's not a goal. All right, so let's get into our special segment.
All right.
Where we're gonna. Where we're gonna find our own man, and we're just gonna talk about some real topics of like dating out here in this real world.
Oh, gosh,
so what are some deal breakers for you? I mean, we can go even on the first date, not even like marriage wise, because like, what are some things where you like, oh no, if he tells me this, I'm done. Or if I see this, I'm done. Like if he stays with his mom,
I don't mind that.
Okay.
I don't mind that. I think just deal breakers really just for me are, I always pay attention to how they talk to other people.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, normally first date, you go out to dinner or something. I always pay attention to how they talk to waiters. And and just like how the conversation goes. I don't know if it's very like self-absorbed conversation, if they're just looking for points to talk about themselves, or if the questions they ask me are very like, you know, basic and like, and they seem uninterested, then those are deal breakers for me, because I'm like, what?
That's it?
Well, I feel like first dates are hard. It's really just a vibe, you know?
Okay, so let's say you make it past the first date, you're
Okay.
feeling them, and you're getting in a relationship. What's a
Okay.
deal breaker?
Deal breaker.
Like, I'm done with you.
I don't like people who, I don't like a sense of ownership.
Okay.
I
You
don't
don't
like
like control.
Yeah, we're partners. You're not my dad. I have a dad, and he's
Deal breakers for me are cheap people. I don't like cheap people. Like, it's okay if you don't have money, but when you're cheap, I don't know. I mean, if you don't have money, should you budget? I don't know. Is that the reason for being cheap? I don't know, but I don't like cheap. I'm just saying, I don't like it. Like, I feel like if you're gonna date, you have to be in a financial responsible scenario. So like,
that's fair.
yeah. So if I'm not able to pay for something, or if I'm not able to do something comfortably, I don't think I should date. I don't feel like I should date right now because I'm focused on my career. So anything that I'm doing, whether it's moving to get a new job or whatever, like, I might do that. So like, even Michelle was saying on the show, I'm gonna go to Broadway. So
Yeah.
this guy figured it out, and
Yeah.
then I'll come back to you. So I'm the same way. Like,
Yeah.
I'm on focus on my career.
Yeah, it's definitely a deal breaker for me if they don't understand my vision, or if our visions don't.
If you
line
don't
up.
support me,
Yeah,
yeah. If you don't support my career, we're done.
which is kind of, I mean, we kind of saw that with Chad Loves Michelle a little bit, because like there are a lot of times he kind of wanted her to slow down, and it's like, no, this is Michelle. Like, this is Michelle Williams. Like, it's not a regular schmegular type girl. This is Michelle Williams, like Destiny's Child, you know, Grammy winning Michelle Williams.
Okay, so what are some things you would do when you're attracted to someone? Do you feel like it's okay for a woman to come on to a man, or do you feel like you should be like just sitting pretty, like wink at him and like have him come over to you? Like, what should we do when we're attracted to someone?
The feminist in me wants to say that girls, you can hit on guys, and it's fine. And listen, they can. You can. I'm a pansy, and I can't.
You can't hit on a guy?
Not until I know. Like, I have to know.
You have a fear of rejection.
I do. The worst. Mine is just like to smile. Like, mine is just to be adorably awkward in your presence, and if that works for me, it works, and it works for me. So
I'm the same way. So I'm not the one to approach a man, and I never have been that way or believe that a woman should, just due to the fact I feel like a man knows what he wants, and men are.
I know what I want.
No, I know what I want too, but does he want you? Like, I feel like the man is the determining factor in a relationship, whether we're gonna be in a relationship. A man can
That's fair.
definitely have sex with you and all those things, but that doesn't mean he wants to be with you.
But I feel like that's because women are more emotionally vulnerable, and we display our emotions in a lot healthier way than most men do.
All right, so how important is sex in a relationship? Because this relationship happened with no sex. They're almost at the marriage stage. A lot of people think this is an antiquated way of thinking. I'm celibate for 2 years. My personal life, it didn't happen like with a conscious decision. It kind of just happened after time. Like, dang, I had sex. Dang, I still haven't had sex. Well, now I just don't want to have sex. You know, like now the next person, as time went on, the next person that I have sex with, I feel like he has to do something.
Be special.
He has to be special, and he has to do something to show me that I'm special. So in the one way that you can do that is propose to me.
Yeah.
So now at this point, that's where I'm at. And it's not religious, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's important.
You know, I kind of really respect the whole going abstinent thing for them. I think if I was younger, I would have said like, oh, sex is just whatever, like it doesn't mean anything. But as I'm getting older, I kind of am finding more value in it as far as a relationship, and like it meaning a lot more than it did beforehand.
So you don't think you can train the person to please you if, like, let's say we're just gonna build this bond? and then later on down the line, we'll do that when it's solidified.
I just think there's a level of comfort and a level of trust that you have with somebody over time and over a certain amount of respect and whatnot. That whether you choose to wait or whether that's something you grow with, like as you all or whatever. Like, I think sex with somebody you care about and love is a lot better than sex with somebody that you just met, even if, you know.
But after time, it can get boring. So how can we spice it up and just be like, you know, keep it funky?
Communication.
Are we adding others to the scenario? Are we adding, you know, another party? Are we just like, you know, letting you have open relationships? Because there's people with open relationships. There's people that have threesomes. There's people who just like, okay, well, let's role play. Like, what can we do?
I think, obviously, I don't think we were going to see any of that with Chad and Michelle.
No, they're done. We're talking about us. We're looking for us.
They are children of God. I think that it doesn't matter what you do. I think the most important thing is to communicate with your partner and to respect your partner and for you all to respect one another, and whatever you all choose to do to keep it spicy, whether that is a threesome, whether that is an open relationship, whether that is, I don't know, like a red room. Like, it's cool. All of those are cool, whatever. But I think just as long as both parties are on board and respectful, then
wait.
cool.
So because they're religious, you said we don't think we're gonna see that threesome or inviting someone else or having an open relationship, which is very true. But what are some of in the institution of marriage? What do you feel like are some, I guess, societal things that are acceptable? That we can do, like, or do you feel like it doesn't have to be society?
I think we gotta stop worrying about what society says is cool.
But you just said they're more like religious.
Well, that's different because I think like those are more like on a biblical standpoint. Like, you know, you're not supposed, like, biblically, you're not supposed to lust after people who aren't.
But I feel like if you're married, okay, so the whole point is don't have sex before marriage, don't fornicate, don't be an adulterer. Like,
but you're not supposed to lust after people who aren't like your husband or wife. So
okay,
I feel like
so
that
let's take out the other people. Let's say, okay, that's not supposed to happen.
Cool.
What are we supposed to be doing? Are we stripping for our man? Are we?
Yeah.
Okay, all of that's okay,
yes.
even if you're religious.
Yes.
You can be a stripper for your man.
Yes. It does not say thou shalt not strip for hubby.
Are we doing oral sex? Because I'm like, is it just for procreation?
No, it's free for all once you're married.
Okay. That's what I thought.
But I'm just saying, like, on a biblical point,
no other people.
No other people if you're doing the whole Christian thing. If you're not, or if you are doing a Christian thing and you're, you know, feeling open to it.
All right, Christian viewers.
We're
just asking questions here. We're just trying to figure out.
I respect if a happy home is a happy home. However you choose to maintain that happy home is up to you. And I respect it because it's, you know, different strokes for different folks.
All right. Leave us a comment. Let us know your strokes down there in the comments. I'm your host, Miss Conversation Piece. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been a great season. Chad Loves Michelle is over. Their relationship is over. Thanks for sticking with us. Maybe we'll have a relationship next season. I don't know. Maybe we can get a show. I don't know.
We'll see.
For the love of Drew and Convo Piece.
And I'm your girl, Drew Jones. You can find me on all the things at OK Drew J, or tune in a little bit later tonight because we will be on the Real Housewives of Atlanta panel, honey.
And it's lit.
It sure is. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.